So, what are the 5 things I want out of War Thunder in 2022? Well, first up, I want them to fix some of the economic issues in the game. Now, I might do a longer video on this topic at some point, and I already touched on some of it in a recent video about the Silver Line's repair costs, but there are a lot of elements in the game's economy that are just fundamentally wrong-headed. Gaijin seems to be making the same mistake that Games Workshop has with their Warhammer tabletop games. Over the last 20 years, Games Workshop has decided that instead of lowering prices and removing barriers to enter the hobby, that they'd slowly raise prices, which shrinks the player base, and then just squeeze the diehard players tighter and tighter each year with the annual price hike, because they want to maintain the same profit levels off of a smaller number of players. Well, Gaijin seems to be making the same mistake. Instead of making the economy more player-friendly and keeping new players in the game for the long term and making their income from a higher quantity of players spending less, but spending repeatedly over time, they seem to be trying to just monetize every individual gameplay element and squeezing the whales harder and harder, even if it shrinks the community. That's a common mistake in freemium games like War Thunder, and it is a huge mistake in the long run. I hope that they seriously re-examine what and how they monetize with the game. I've got some ideas about it, but it's way beyond the scope of this video. Number 2, I hope they fix the BR compression. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. We all know it's a huge problem, but their official reason for inaction is that they don't want to increase the player queue times before matches. Well, I don't know about you, but I'd be more than happy to wait an extra 2 or 3 minutes for a match if the match was more evenly balanced. My hope is that maybe I'm not alone on that, and Gaijin realizes it. A fool's hope, probably, but still. Number 3, I want more Cold War-era jet bombers. I want the Tu-16, the B-47, the British V-bombers. I want them. Now, this would require some reworking in the game modes, and they've taken a step in the right direction by adding the larger missions into Air RB, but I think some other changes are still needed before it can be a thing. I have a lot of ideas about this, and I'm still working on a detailed proposal to send to the devs, because I'm trying to use my content creator partner program access responsibly instead of just for whining. And I'll have a video up about that when I finally get it finished. Number 4, I want better maps for ground battles and a solution to spawn camping in Air Arcade. That is, I want some map design elements in ground battles which will actively discourage the cross-map spawn camping right at the start of a match. At least, it's more prevalent at the higher tiers. And some way in Air Arcade battles, to stop or discourage the tendency of players to just start, flying around the enemy spawn and just missiling people right as they appear. In my opinion, the single most annoying thing in War Thunder is to spawn into a ground battle, start driving out of the spawn, and boonk! My tank explodes not even 20 seconds after spawning in. Come on, guys. Fix the maps. That shit just shouldn't be possible. It's bad, sloppy game design. Air Arcade Battle has similar problems, especially at the top tiers, where you spawn in and are just immediately under attack, often missiled out before you can even select your weapons and stuff. It makes it pointless to even bother to spawn into additional vehicles, and it's a major problem. Find a way to prevent it, or at least discourage spawn camping across all game modes. There's gotta be a way. Lastly, I want them to resync the ground and air trees. This is kind of complementary to BR decompression. Now, what I mean is, the battle ratings are chronologically mismatched between the ground and air tech trees. So, for example, if you want to take an aircraft in as close air support to a ground battle, right? A lot of us do that. When your air vehicles are the same BR as your ground vehicles, you're spawning into an aircraft that is decades behind the anti-air defenses you're fighting, and even the helicopters on the enemy team. If you spawn in with, say, an IL-28 or an F-86, jets from the early 1950s, You're up against radar-equipped SPAA and potentially even anti-air missile systems from the 1970s or newer. And frankly, you have very little chance of survival, regardless of what you think your skill level is at. The problem is more pronounced at the higher tiers, and right now at the top tier, you can spawn in with a jet from, like the late 1960s or early 1970s, with the countermeasures, technology, weapons, and performance of that era, and you're fighting anti-air defenses from the 2000s. That just sucks. And I hope that they resync the tech trees. But BR decompression probably has to happen first, so it'll probably never happen, ever. In any case, those are the top 5 things I want from War Thunder in 2022. As always, thanks for watching.